Welcome, everyone, to another edition of On the Trail in Search of Living Legends. I'm your host, Jeremiah. I'm here with Nick. Nick, how's it going?
Hey Jay, I'm doing great, doing great.
Can you believe we're on season 6, episode 4 already?
I can't believe it. I mean, and this is the year 2024. We're into
Yep,
February already. My
crazy.
God, it just flew by. I mean, I can remember we're doing our first show of the year already, and it's flown by like crazy. But
Absolutely.
tonight you really got us a really good guest from across the pond.
Yep.
If I may introduce him, Simon Vicary. He's from
Hi guys.
Wales. Simon has
Hey, Simon.
an investigative background, so I just wanted to set the tone for our audience, and this should be really good. I mean, he's over there, in the UK area, and Jay, go ahead, take it.
Yeah, Simon, you just we've known each other for years, and
Yeah.
that's one thing I want to get across to our listeners out there is I've known this guy for years. He does not, pardon my language, but he does not bullshit. He's a straight up guy, great guy, and he knows his stuff. So listen carefully, and I think we're going to learn a few things tonight and put some more of the puzzle pieces together, hopefully. um,
Well, I,
so,
I hope hopefully something drops in with someone somewhere.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. So Simon,
like we were
how'd
saying
you get
before
into?
the show,
Oh, sorry.
any little piece to the puzzle helps. Any little thing,
Absolutely.
the smallest
Well,
scrap, and
yeah,
as an former investigator yourself,
the
that
devil.
even a match found at the scene,
Yes.
could bring some light to what the case is going on. So nothing is
DNA.
unimportant. I'm sorry,
No.
Jay. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. That's all right. So Simon, how'd you? I mean, I know your story, but it's for the listeners. How did you get into cryptozoology?
Okay. So years ago there was a program on British TV called Arthur C. Clarke's um, Amazing World, and it would have all sorts of UFOs, and the one thing which I don't know really stood out was the Patterson Gimlin Bigfoot footage. From
Very
there,
famous. Yeah.
I started collecting this magazine called The Unexplained, and I was about 7, 8, 9 years old. So I would collect this magazine, and then I don't know if the school got in the way. I was doing athletics, and got to my early 20s, and I started reading up again, specifically on Bigfoot and UFOs.
Hmm.
I'd seen a few UFOs over the UK. I sort of acquired a small library, and to be honest, Jay, Nick, I was saving up enough money to come over to the US because I've been reading. And then I got told, well, they're in the UK, and I was like, no, they're not. No, I just didn't believe it. I was like, nah, country's too small.
All right.
The same things which you will hear again and again. And I was like, so I was encouraged by a few people, including yourself, Jay. Look
Yeah.
for this. Here's a photograph of this. See if you go out and have a look and see if you can see this. And sure enough, I was finding these things, and it made me stop, be in the moment, um, and question. And I was looking at some of the detail on what I'm finding now. It's really really small, and it's like the devil really is in the detail.
Hmm.
So I think after about 15 years of reading and wanted to save up, that's when I was like, they're in the UK. And I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't get my head around it at first
Right.
until I started having the experiences. I started hearing things, couldn't explain them. Wife thought it was bonkers. Then she started hearing things, experiencing things. The dog was a really good telltale sign of things going on. Um, and then I had a visual. Um, I've had three visuals, but before the visuals, I was sort of learning to not track, because that would be the wrong word, because I can't do that. But I was looking at these glyphs, finding these glyphs, and I was like, these are out of place. These are not normal. Someone's either kids have made them or something else has made them. So I would record myself, the area, myself, the dog, and that's when I would start catching them. I'd go home, review the footage in slow motion, zoom up, things were moving in the background.
Hmm.
So that was like, right, okay, I'm on the right tracks. And it's just gone deeper and deeper from there, Jay, to be honest.
Yep.
So that's my background of how I've got into this. And
Okay.
I would say I've been in the field now for about 6 years, and I go
Yeah.
out at least once a week, maybe two, three
Yeah.
times a week, because I'm quite lucky where I live, my location.
Right. Right. What's if you don't mind me asking, what's the terrain like where you investigate?
So, um, valleys,
Okay.
quarries,
Mm,
woods, farmers' land, um, caves, cave
Mm.
systems, steep inclines. I live in Wales. It's quite rugged. Okay.
Right.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is rugged country. Now, as far as your visuals, when was your first visual encounter?
Right. So this makes it even more interesting. This was in
Excellent.
lockdown. This was in lockdown.
Ah.
Okay.
Okay.
So, and we're a compact country, and sort of looked at is some of the woods. You think these are too small to see anything, but then when you look on, say, the maps and Google Earth, you'll see corridors. They're all connecting. There is a
Hmm.
lot of connection. So I remember it. It was December the 19th, and it was in lockdown, and it was around about 4:45. So if you don't know, in the UK, it starts to go dark around 4:30, around quarter to
Okay.
five. It's dark that time of year.
Yeah.
We'd just gone into a small woods. We were just passing through, and my wife was with me. The dog was with me. Um, and my wife gets fed up with me sort of looking, and she just walks off and does her own thing.
Mm,
And I was on my belly looking down this cave, and I'm looking down this cave, and I couldn't see nothing. My wife had gone. She'd been out the woods about 10 minutes. It was starting to get dark, and I think it unnerved her. So I stands up, and I'm in like a gully. So to the left and to the right are steep inclines, maybe 100 meters high. So I'm in this like gully of about 100 meters, and it's dark, but it's not dark enough that I can't see where I'm going. That I have to put the torch on. Um, the reason why I seen this figure is because it skylined itself. It stood up, it yawned and stretched like it had just got out of bed, and I was like, okay, so it's a poacher. That's what my first thoughts was. Okay, it's
Right.
coming up to Christmas. People are skint. They've got no money. It's just a bloke who's after pheasants because the area was rich in pheasants and rabbits and pigeons and all the wildlife.
Right.
But there was one on the floor, and it shuffled backwards. I could see it. It shuffled backwards. I just thought it was a bloke, two blokes.
Yeah.
So um, I start walking out, um, thinking, well, I don't want to be involved in this because they might have guns, and obviously in the
Sure.
UK we don't carry weapons, do we? So I wasn't sure. So I'm starting to walk out, and it's only 3 or 4 minute walk out. Wife's waiting for me on the top road, and down to my right was quite a steep gully, even further, like 10 foot, and I heard a snap, and I was like, oh. And I was watching this figure, right? I haven't got the words to explain this. I'm not taking my eyes off this figure which has stood up. I'd say it's about 6 foot. How do you explain this? When you've got like a mirage in the desert.
Hmm.
Do you remember? You're old enough to remember when the TVs would go off at a certain time, and it would be like the white noise, just black and white.
right.
Yeah.
So imagine that crossed in with a mirage. That's what this figure done. Okay,
Wow.
so I I was looking, I was staring at. I did not take I planted my feet. I did not take my eyes off it, and it just became out of focus, and I could not see it anymore. Even though I was staring, I just, where's it gone? and the one on the floor couldn't see that. And I just thought, well, I had that feeling that if I turned my torch on, it wasn't going to be good for me. So I decided to leave. As I was walking up, oh, and should add, I used to run for Wales. I was a sprinter, so I know that how fast you can run down these sort of slopes.
Right.
I heard thud, 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 thud. This bloke, or I just thought it was a poacher, ran down this hill at an enormous speed, and the thuds from it as well. It was really heavy, and I was thinking that's not a person. That it's too heavy, it's too fast, and it's dark. They've got no torches. And next thing you know, I hear a pheasant. Bang! It was dispatched. He was out.
Wow.
He'd killed it.
Uh-huh.
And my wife heard it, and we just walked back. So I came home, and I asked a poacher, a UK poacher. I said, how'd you kill pheasants? And he said, you walk up to them with a torch. He said, and they won't move. He said, the light in their eyes, you just walk up and pick them up. He said, they don't run away in the dark. I was like,
That's
oh, okay.
simple.
So I said, well, what was this then? And he said, could you run down a hillside with no torch at full speed? I went, no, I'd kill myself. So that
Right.
was my first experience. So to me, it was just two figures. That was my first experience. But speaking to other people, they've said, well, have a think about it, Simon. Could it really be a person? And I was like, no, not really.
Yeah.
So
Now,
that was the
Simon,
first one.
I want to point something out to our audience. In the UK and especially Wales, and it's been hundreds of years since they've seen a bear over there or wolves.
Yeah.
So it's definitely was not a black bear or anything like that. Possibly on the Prince of Wales Island they have brown bear, but not where you are. Definitely
No,
not where you are.
no, we don't have wolves. We don't.
So what
The
you
biggest
saw
thing we've
was
got is deer.
right. What you
Deer.
saw
Yeah.
was not a bear.
No, don't have them.
No.
No, they're not here.
So
So when this,
the width
oh,
of
so
this, the width of this creature that you saw. I mean, could you tell us about that? I mean, did it look pretty wide?
I'd say no. This is why I thought it was just a big person.
mm,
Um, it was just, I don't know. It's about your size, Jay.
really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So 6 foot and just a stocky bloke. That was
Okay.
my
Yeah.
thoughts. Nothing out of the ordinary, outside of normal human parameters.
About how far away was it, Simon?
Um, in a straight line, less than 100 meters,
Wow.
but it was uphill, so you've got to allow for the little bit of elevation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it was. If it hadn't have skylined, I wouldn't have seen it.
Oh, it was backlit, so you really couldn't tell the front if it
No,
had hair all over it or
no,
claws, anything like that. Then
no, no. Couldn't see any detail.
because it was
There was
backlit, right?
yeah.
Right. Right. But like Nick said, there's what the hell else could it have been? you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
nothing. I
When
mean,
when you when you go through the possibilities of what it is, and you rule them out, you're left with what it is, however improbable that may seem.
right. And I don't know, like in your body, I've seen one of these things. Nick has had the dogman experience. We both had experience. You've had experiences. Your body tells you something too. When you
Yeah.
when you're looking at something
You could
like
feel it.
that, you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
feel it. Yeah.
Yeah. Your gut is your second brain, and my gut was saying, "This is not right."
Right. Exactly.
So was this
Exactly.
thing paralleling you down the mountain or down the hill, or was it coming straight at you when you heard the thumps?
No. What I think had happened is, um, because my wife had walked out and she was 10 minutes ahead of me, I think they thought they had the woods to themselves. So
Mm,
that's why they stood up, right?
okay.
Thinking I was with her and left, but I hadn't. I'd stayed behind. Not on purpose. I was just being nosy and looking around.
Right.
Right.
As I walked up, this ran down. So I'd already passed its linear sort of. I passed it in. It was about 100 meters away. It'd gone down. I'd gone up. So we'd not crossed
Okay.
paths or anything.
Right. Right. And was that the first one, the one that stood up, or was that the one laying down?
That was the one. Well, I don't know which one ran
Don't know which
down
one.
because I never seen it.
Okay, gotcha.
I only heard the thud, 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 and then the dispatch of the pheasant.
Did it
Yeah,
make any verbal sounds?
Nothing at all. Absolutely nothing at all.
Yeah.
The only sound I heard was because I seen two, where I got the distinct impression that there was a third something about 10 meters away from me, which snapped a twig.
Oh.
Oh,
And that's when
wow.
I thought, that's
All
when I
right.
thought,
Well,
if
yeah.
I put my torch on and these are hunters or poachers, I might be in for a bit of a kick in here because I'm disturbing them while they hunt. So I just thought, I'll
Right.
leave. I'm not putting my torch on.
But you didn't see any flash. I mean, if a poacher's going for pheasant, they would flash them with a flashlight. You didn't see any flashes.
Nothing at all. No
So, and you
light.
didn't hear
Nothing.
any verbalization. Jay, I'm
Nothing.
thinking, he probably had some form of UK Bigfoot over there. Definitely not a dog man. Because
Sounds like a sounds like a UK Bigfoot to me.
yeah,
Two
Bigfoot,
of them.
Sasquatch, whatever you would call them over there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What's the proper term over there now, Simon, for these things?
Say again, please, Jay.
What's the proper term you guys use over there now for these
For a
things?
Bigfoot.
We call them wild man.
Wildman? Okay.
Wild man.
Okay.
So that's what I call them in the group
Right.
that I'm at. Because they are like a man that lives wild with hair.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they call it in
Um,
Australia a lot of times. And in the early days in the United States, they used to call them wild men.
Or hairy man, or
Yeah, hairy men. I know in Canada, they get all upset if you call it a Bigfoot. They want you to call it a Sasquatch. In the United States, it's Sasquatch, Bigfoot,
yeah,
whatever. Wow.
whatever. Yeah.
I'm wondering if it was a juvenile.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's it. I was thinking
Yeah,
about that. What do you think, Simon?
possibly. Possibly.
Yeah.
The size.
This woods that I've been in, I was there in the daylight at one. This is a separate
Okay.
incident now, but it's the same woods. Um, my wife and the dog had gone ahead again. They were on the trail, and I'd gone up quite a steep incline, say about 30 degrees. You know, just
Hmm.
enough to we need to grab the roots of a tree to pull yourself up.
Right.
And I found a print, um, and it was massive, and it was enough to make me a bit worried. I
Yeah.
started looking around, and all I could describe is something thudding in the woods, like if you can imagine Thor's hammer dropping from
Hmm.
from the sky. It was a hell of a thud,
Oh,
and me Tracy, my wife, she shouted to the dog, "Come back here quickly!" And she shouted to me, "Get down here." So this is from someone who's a complete skeptic and thinks I'm bonkers, but she wanted me quite close,
Right. Right. Yeah.
So I don't know whether one was in the tree watching, realized I was coming up off trail, decided to get
Yeah.
out of there. I just don't know. But there was a big print. It was big, and I'm size 11, and it. But the worrying thing about it was I jumped up into the pine needles and I made hardly any depression. This impression was about 3 or 4 centimeters in.
Wow.
And I was like,
Yeah.
bloody hell, what's made that?
And
You
that's
know?
it. Nick and I talk about this all the time. The impressions the depths of the impressions these
is the body
things
weight.
make
Yeah.
is the body weight. People underestimate. I think people underestimate the body weight of these things.
I'm saying that what he just said, 3 to 4 centimeters in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're talking anywhere from a low of 700 to 900 pounds then.
I would think so.
Now, from the depth of that, definitely. And, most likely at least 800 pounds. I
Yeah.
mean,
Let's,
that's quite a hefty one.
Yeah, that's a
yeah,
big one.
I
You
put
got
my
to
finger
remember
into it.
their bones are thicker than ours, much thicker. And their skin is much thicker and the muscle mass is enormous. They don't eat carbohydrates, they eat meat. And wow. And you said it actually grabbed a pheasant out there. You heard a pheasant get grabbed?
I heard a pheasant be killed, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it was a little hungry.
Yeah.
You were probably lucky,
Um,
Simon, that pheasant was out there. Otherwise, it could
yeah,
have been coming at you.
better
Well,
the
this is the
pheasant than you, right, bud?
yeah, well, this is the worry, isn't it?
Wow.
This is the worry because we don't carry any weapons here. We're unarmed. We've
Yeah.
just got
Mhm.
we've got nothing.
Are you allowed pepper spray?
Yeah, I've bought my wife some. Well, no, you're not allowed it, but I've got my wife some anyway.
Oh,
Sure.
the kind we have is bear spray, Simon, and it blows out in a conical shot, goes like
Okay,
36 feet,
brilliant.
and it's oleoresin capsicum, high end pepper spray. It's for bears. They call it bear spray. It's
Yeah,
excellent stuff.
Yeah, it drives the bears right away.
I know
very
because
good.
we used it. My team was in North Carolina early last year, and a bear came out of the bushes at us, a very large black bear, and we shot it from two sides with bear spray, and it took him down. He just ran off. It
Brilliant.
really worked. It worked really well. Otherwise, we would have had to shoot it. So we didn't want
Yeah,
to do that.
right. No. Oh, good.
Simon,
Yeah,
when we talked the other day when we talked, you mentioned that the you saw one. It must be your third encounter. The one where you saw it through the trees, the face looking at you.
yeah, that was about 3 weeks ago.
Okay. Oh, 3 weeks ago. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow. Would you mind telling us about that?
That current. Wow. Yeah.
So, um, we're walking through the woods, and there was a bit of commotion in this little village. And the police had turned up, sirens and blue lights, and there was a person, I think, with some mental health issues, and they needed to get to them quite quickly. So I was watching that, um, and I was sort of skirting through a field and coming back into the woods, and I stopped because I found a log, well, quite a thick part of a trunk of a tree pushed into the ground. And
Mm,
this is something I see a lot, Jay. Okay, and
yeah.
I'll talk to you a bit more about that in a moment.
Okay.
Anyway, I was filming because I had got something on film in this woods looking at me from behind the tree, but I never seen it at the time. Okay, because it was just too well hidden.
Right.
So I'm walking up. We're going past the stream, and we have to go over a sty, but the sty is so well used that it's virtually fallen apart. So if
Okay.
I go over it with my phone, there's a good chance I could fall onto some rocks and break the
Right.
phone. So I put the phone into my pocket, on the breast pocket, and walking up the track, I look to the left, and there's two trees really close together. And you're gonna laugh at this, Jay, because I'd had a previous experience that I didn't know what to do, and I'd really thought it through in my mind what I was going to do if this happened again. So I saw what I thought was a grey face with a big nose
Mm.
looking through the trees at me, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, is that a bloke watching me, or is it just part of the bushes? When your brain plays tricks on you, think,
Sure. Sure.
oh, it's my imagination. So I thought, well, if it is a bloke watching me and I'm up here in the woods on my own with the dog, I thought, well, I'll wave and say hello just as, I'm friendly. So I literally put my arm up and went, all right, mate, you okay? No response, nothing at all. So I walked on and I stopped. I took 5 steps and I just stopped and I literally went back 5 steps to where I was stood, looked to these two trees again, and I could see through the trees. So
So
where I couldn't see through the trees, where I thought, is it my imagination? Is it a face? Is it a grey face with a big nose? And then it was gone.
yep.
So I could see through the trees now.
The big
Yeah.
nose now, was it a snout or just a regular face with a big nose?
To be honest, I couldn't get enough detail. I don't want to try and embellish anything, so I'll just say it's
Yeah.
it was a bigger almost like it would be squashy, like big enough to grab hold of.
Right.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
That would have been
It was
funny
just
when you
great.
waved at it if it would have waved back at you with big hairy hands and maybe some nails.
Well, I think I would have just turned around and run towards the police car.
Wow.
Right?
I don't think I would have hung around. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I've had that happen to me, Simon. You know that. I've sent you pictures over
Yes.
the years where I've taken pictures of I'll hear something or think I see something in the tree line. And, again, like you said, your imagination plays tricks on you.
Yeah.
And you snap a picture and you go home and you review it after, and lo and behold, you've got a nice clear picture of a Sasquatch or, whatever, dogman, whatever. And it was there. So, it's not your mind playing tricks on you a lot of the times. A lot of the times, yeah, sure, minds do play tricks, but in these occasions, what you just explained, I don't think your mind is playing a trick on you. I think you saw one.
What sort of strikes me is you look away for a moment and then you look back, it's gone. It's
Gone.
so quiet, so silent.
Yep.
It's a special ability that.
I agree.
That's a special ability.
Yep.
I did actually go up to that area, me and the dog, and I kept the dog very close, and there was no sign of nothing, just like an empty woods, nothing.
Wow.
I did film, and I think I caught something on the other ridge, but there's no detail in it.
No
It just
detail.
looks. There's nothing where you could say, "Oh, that's something." It's just something that
Right.
looked unusual.
Right.
Yeah, your typical blurry.
Yeah. I know.
Subject in the distance. Yeah.
Simon, in your time out in the woods, have you ever had any mind speak or infrasound used on you?
So I was when I first started going out, I was in a woods which is not local to me. It's about a 40-minute drive, and I was a bit naive. And as we drove up into the car park, I was like, I could have sworn I'd seen a big black head poking above the ferns. Thought nothing of it and just carried on. Just you just sort of write it off. It's nothing. Anyway, about an hour into the walk, I see like X's and structures which you think, well, okay, how's the wind made that? Is it snow load? Has it grown like that? And I decided to step off this path in the woods to go sort of into the thickets. And for some reason, I shit myself, and I don't scare easy. And I was like, oh, I shouldn't be here. And and that was the only time really, Nick.
Yeah. But something made you a little nervous there,
Yeah, when the hairs come up on the back of your neck, you got to listen to it.
Like you said, your gut, your second brain,
Yeah. So that's the only time.
So you were getting into the. I'm interested to hear about what you were saying about the twigs and stuff.
Right. Okay. So my cousin wanted to do some fitness because he's had some health problems, and he says, "Can we start doing some outdoor exercise rather than going to the gym?" And I was like, "Yeah,
Right.
great." So we picked a small hill, just under 1,000 foot. It's only a 40-minute incline, 40-minute climb. And on the way back down, we made good time. And I said, well, let's go into the woods here and let's just have a bit of a chill out. And he knows nothing of the subject. Okay, absolutely nothing. And I wanted it to be like that because I didn't want to lead him in any way. So I could see things, and there's these twigs, maybe about 9, 10, 12 inches long, but 4 inches were pushed into the pine needle bed of the wood floor. And then maybe 100 meters or about 50 meters, there'd be another one. You'd go, then it'd be repeated, and it'd be about 4 or 5 of these twigs pushed in, and they all had a slight angle on them. So I said to Chris, if you're looking at them, what does this say to you? And he said, well, it doesn't look normal.
No.
And he said,
right.
He said, that's like pointing going up there. And he was really interested. This guy's graduated from Cambridge University, so he's an intelligent guy.
Right.
And then as we were looking at all these things, we get wood on wood in the background. So we get a knock.
Oh, nice.
So I just turned and I just looked at him and said, "Do you hear that?" Very calmly he went, "Yeah, I heard that." And he goes, and he just said, "Have you got people living wild here or something?" And that was what he asked.
Wow.
So that was the
Wow.
twigs things, you know.
Yeah.
But I've been following glyphs. I've seen repeatable glyphs time and time again, Jay. Yeah.
Yeah.
2 years ago, there was a different woods I was in, and there was another experience, and I think this is possibly the one that confuses me the most.
Okay.
Once again, my wife was ahead of me, right? And this seems to be a theme. She's ahead of me. I'm lagging behind, looking at stuff. She's just head down, walking up the trail. And I think she was probably up 20 meters ahead of me.
Right.
To my left, in my peripheral vision, to my left, I seen a big person with an unusual high stride step over something.
Oh.
Now I look to the left to see this. But you know when you know you're already going to look forwards again to see where your next footstep's going. So I'd look left and then look right and look forwards again. Look left,
Sure.
seeing this thing. As I was looking forwards, it was like, what was that? Stopped, turned 90 degrees to the left, looked directly at it, and I was like, what the hell am I looking at? It was about no, so this one's this is strange because it was about 7 foot and it was broad. It was about 4 foot wide. Okay.
Wow.
This was big.
That's big.
Right? Big. There was no neck and the head was huge. Right. So I'm looking at it and I'm 35, 40 seconds, Jay. Nick, it's a long time. I planted my feet. There was a few like overhanging trees between me and this subject. And I thought, I don't want to move my feet at all. So I was only moving my hips or my knees to try and get a better vantage of looking at what I was looking at, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, I was like, I started convincing myself it was a tree. You know, when a tree goes over in a storm and it's the roots, it was black. There was just no features to it. I thought, oh, it's a tree. Okay. So I was looking at the size of what I thought, well, if it was a head, how big is it compared to my wife's? So I thought, well, I'm going to look at my wife's head, turn right, look at her head, turn back and look at this thing's head. So looked at her head and I was like, bloody hell, there's her head. You know, she was about 20, 30 meters away. I thought, oh, bloody hell, that's small compared to look back, it'd gone.
Wow.
Disappeared, Jay. Gone. But where did it go? Because I was like, it walked off trail. It come into ferns, which were about 3 or 4 foot high.
Mm-hmm.
So as it dropped to its belly, but it was silent. There was no sound again. You know.
Yeah.
And that's the one that gets me because where it was coming from, wasn't walking away from me. It was walking towards us.
Right.
So
Walking right towards you. Wow.
Yeah, it was walking towards us. But if it didn't know I was there, it was walking in. It was going to be walking in behind my wife.
Oh.
So because I was lagging behind again, I caught it in my peripheral vision. It had made a mistake.
You know, I'm glad you caught it. I'm glad you saw it. You know, because you never know. These things seem to have what's the word I'm looking for here, Nick? With women, they
have an affinity for women. They could smell the hormones.
This goes back, to Native American
times. Must have been a male Bigfoot, and he could actually smell your wife's hormones being different than yours. I mean, dogs have a sense of smell maybe 46 times plus what we have. Bigfoot, bears, and the like, their sense of smell is high up there, evidently, from all the research that I've done and from the interviews that I've read on people that have been out there and what attracts them. That is, it looks like your wife walking ahead of you. She's like bait, and you're right
Exactly.
behind her, and
Yeah.
you get
Yeah.
to see it all.
Yeah.
And,
She's
I'll
missing
tell
it.
you, when I have Stacy out with me, we get much more action.
Yeah, I remember you saying that, Jay.
A lot more action. But back to what you were saying about that one disappearing into the ferns and stuff. That's a common theme, Nick, that you and I have come along. How we've had numerous witnesses just say it disappeared. And
You know what you got to do,
feel,
Jay, when you go out, and you too, Simon. Take your wife's knickers with you. I'm using the UK term, and have it
Very
out there
good.
like on a stick because it'll come out. It'll smell it.
oh,
You
for
know,
sure.
Great idea.
I
Yeah,
mean, instead of
for
bringing her
sure.
out and put her, put her at risk, if you want to go out by yourself or with some of the guys, that might be an idea.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm
But
very careful who I tell about this, to be honest, Nick. It's because they're not here, are they? They're not in this country, so
They're
it's
not
something,
supposed to be. No.
they're
no,
not supposed to
right.
be,
But
So
what you
I'm
said
very
was you
careful.
have caves over there,
Oh yeah.
and that's an excellent area for them to hide, and to sleep and bring up their families and everything.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
in one particular cave in this woods, there's water, fresh water, which runs out of it, and I
Oh,
found
wow.
a stick in the water pushed in to the ground. So the stick was about a foot and a half,
Oh,
and it was pushed into the ground at the entrance of the cave.
Wow.
so that's the question I was going to ask you, Simon, is how close is water source, in the areas that you're walking through?
They're abundant, Nick.
They're abundant. So, well,
Yeah.
there's something all life needs is
Water.
water. That's number one. You have
Yeah.
wildlife running around there. That's number two. Shelter is the other thing, and that's
Farmers'
actually
fields.
paramount for them.
Yeah. What do you have for deer species there? Stags, like red stags?
White tip.
Oh, you have
deer.
white. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not really well up on. But all I know is there's supposed to be 4 million deer in the UK, and I've seen about 3.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I found a carcass of a sheep, but it was on the wrong
Okay.
side of the fence. It was on the wrong side of the fence.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so how's it jumped over a 4-foot fence?
Right.
No, it doesn't. Not a
Yeah,
sheep.
it doesn't.
It's
Yeah.
been dragged. It's been dragged over there.
Absolutely.
Simon, what kind of predators do you have in that area? Do you have any?
The only thing that's been reported, which apparently doesn't exist, is we've seen black panthers.
Black Panthers, yeah. No wolves. No wolves
no,
in hundreds of
no.
years. I know that. Coyote
Foxes.
type dogs.
So we got foxes, which is like a very small dog.
But still,
Yeah.
a fox is not going to throw a sheep over and, over a
not a
fence,
chance.
4 foot
Not a
tall. I
chance.
mean, that's.
No.
Was it
not a
mangled?
chance.
Was it pretty mangled up, the carcass? Like torn apart?
I found a jawbone and some teeth, and that was it.
Wow.
Everything else had been eaten. This is the same place where I found the big print.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And of
That
course,
kind
you're
of
not
thing.
supposed to have anything like that in that area. Yet there's a lot of evidence. I mean, that is big. That's big evidence, Jay. I mean, the sheep,
It is.
one side of the fence, 4 feet. It's on the other side. It's torn apart. And they really don't have predators in that area.
No.
A fox, big deal. I mean, most foxes aren't really big enough to cause heavy problems. They'll stay away
Right.
from humans for the most part. And from what he's seeing over there is, I mean, that's evidence in itself.
It is. It is.
Rabbits with the livers taken out, just the livers.
Just the
Rabbit
livers.
livers out. Oh man.
Yeah, just the internal organ. Yeah, they're not eating the rest of the meat. Just going for the. You can see it just gone into the stomach.
I
What
had
about
a guy that he had 26 chickens. Now these chickens, he had the chicken coop locked, so no foxes could get into it. It was locked from underneath. So
Right.
something got underneath there that had to have had a hand, broke the lock. He found 26 of his chickens dead in the field the next day. And this guy's got Sasquatch on his property. Nick, I think you interviewed him with me before. But all that was missing was the hearts and the internal organs, Simon.
That's the vitamin B, isn't it?
That's the thing. Like
Oh
any
man.
other predator would have eaten the whole bird, or the
They would have taken it away and
taken it away.
for later also. They would have taken several of
Exactly.
them away.
Exactly.
Do you guys have buzzards over there or any kind of flying type of carnivores?
Yeah, we got buzzards, we got red kite, we got sea eagles. We've got
But you
some
see,
quite
the buzzards, sea eagles, and all that, they would have eaten the eyes first, out of it, and then they would have. I mean, it would have been gone. The bones would have been gone too. So evidently, something polluted it. I'm using that term. Something, put their smell on it that those buzzards didn't go after that sheep and eat everything because they're not choosy. They'll eat everything, hair,
That's right.
skin, toenails, everything, and they'll come back and eat the bones.
Yeah. And we run into that here where people will find carcasses and no scavengers have touched them, which that is very weird because we're infested with coyotes here in the US and they love a dead carcass. But we've taken many reports and talked to many people that have found these carcasses and they have not been touched for some reason.
Yeah, it depends on what it was killed by and what scent was left over, and they know not to touch it.
Yep.
Almost like ownership.
Exactly.
The scent is ownership, and if you go and touch their stuff, you're in trouble.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's like the Sasquatch or Dogman Mafia,
Yeah.
touching my food, or we're going to knock you off. And I mean,
that's right.
They stay away from
where you
it.
live. Yeah.
Now, Simon, go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
What are your thoughts about people being tagged?
Attacked? I think it depends.
No, tagged.
Oh, I think it's a legit thing.
Yeah.
Because when we were living wherever Stacy and I think it's certain people that these things are attracted to for whatever reason may be. Guys like me, you, Nick, my wife, our other people we all know, that are having experiences over and over, no matter, say they move 1,000 miles away. Like when we were in North Carolina, we were having experiences down there just like we were having in our backyard up here, So I seriously think, like the term you put it, would you say tagged?
Tagged, yeah.
Yeah, something like that's going on. They hone in on certain people for certain reasons, and that's another big question.
I've got another one. When people say they go into areas and their equipment dies, batteries drain or whatever.
Yes.
Okay, so we've sort of a working hypothesis, sort of theory, which we can't prove, that they may navigate via, the electric lines. So the
ley lines.
Frequency.
Yeah, the ley lines.
Do we give off a frequency? Different people have different frequencies, and maybe that's what they're tuning into.
I think so.
Yeah. That would explain a lot then.
I mean, Jay, from North Carolina to up where you are is about what, 1,300 miles?
1,300 miles.
1,500 miles. That's a long way to track you. And
yeah,
I mean, I would figure they would get on their little cell phone and send a message, hey, Jay's coming your way, so look out for him.
Make sure you give him a hard time. Yeah. And it's too coincidental to me, moving that far away and having even more activity down there, just as much, And the ley lines, I'm a big believer in the ley lines. I know you are too, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, there are ley lines in the United States that go straight up, and they put out a certain, I want to say, power, aura, something that they put out on, like the Mothman, for instance. if you follow the ley lines all the way up to northern United States, there's been in mostly in those areas within give or take 50 miles on each side of the ley lines. That's where most of the sightings have been.
Yeah.
So I mean, go figure. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah. Simon, you hear of any dogman encounters from anybody?
I've not heard of anything. No.
No. Okay.
I've left most of the groups over here just
Yeah.
because I think the subject can get diluted,
Okay.
which can frustrate, and I think it's a subject that people can start to take the mick out of. So there's been a lot of groups which have left if I feel that it's not right for me, if it's not serious enough, not enough research.
If the group, yeah.
I'll
That's
tell you
one thing
what,
about our groups. We don't allow any BS into our dogman groups at all. It's got to be legit, ain't it?
Yeah. Did I
Exactly.
tell
I
you
mean, the people are just taken out immediately. We
Good.
don't really put up with any BS. You know, we don't do religion. We don't do politics. We don't do big arguments. You can disagree with somebody. And we post that all the time in our international dogman project groups. You can disagree with somebody. That's fine. You know, say, hey, I disagree with you. I think this, that, and the other. But when you start calling people names and arguing, I'm sorry. You know,
it's gone. It's finished.
as for myself, I
It's
had an encounter. I had an encounter, Simon. I had 2 sightings, and I really don't care what people think about it. I know what I saw.
Yeah.
And I know better. I've been studying zoology. I'm going for a master's in zoology. I know what bears look like. I've been to all the zoos. I had to work at the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. I've seen them up close and in person, all types, brown, black bear, grizzly. I've seen polar bear at zoos, of course, but I know the difference between a bear and a Sasquatch or a dog man. I haven't gotten to see a Sasquatch yet. I've been out there searching, but not yet. I did hear tree knocks. I did see trees that were ripped out of the ground and jammed upside down into the ground. Now that's really strange. I've asked a lot of Bigfoot people about that, and they've said, I think Jay, you agree. They've said that that's a warning. Stay away.
Yeah.
You know, the teepees. What I've heard from research and from other Bigfooters out there, they've said that the teepees are a sign to other Sasquatch and their families that this is a good area.
Yeah.
Now the tree knocks, I'm not so sure, but I did get to hear tree knocks in Washington State. Didn't find any Sasquatch, but we saw we heard tree knocks. Did not see any prints, and we were out there for a good 3 days looking around.
Nick, you want me to ask this question, or you might want to about things up in the sky during?
Go ahead.
You want me to do it?
Yeah.
Simon, have you before, during, or after an encounter, have you ever seen anything odd in the sky?
No.
Okay.
The only thing I've seen, which I caught on camera, was a little white light buzzing around in the woods.
During a Sasquatch encounter, or no, just by itself? Okay.
Just by itself.
Gotcha. But it's weird though, isn't it? Because we find in these same the areas that have Sasquatch and Dogman activity, always seems like there's UAP, UFO activity as well.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, very. I've got some quite out there thoughts on that.
Yeah, let's hear them.
Say again, sorry.
I said let's hear them, bud.
Have you heard about the chap in Wales that saw one jumping up and down and it was going translucent as it went up and down?
I haven't.
No, I haven't. No.
He's a nuclear physicist.
Oh, wow.
He was sat in the woods and he seen this bloke doing burpees or what he thought was just a rigorous exercise routine.
Right.
And he noticed as he was jumping into the air, the top part of his body was going translucent, out of focus. But what's he trying to jump? What's causing that? Is there something there cloaked that he's trying to jump into.
Right.
Then he had an hour missing. His phone turned on and turned off, and he had welcome messages from 78 different countries on his phone.
Wow.
Where as he was walking out, he noticed he had a shoe missing, and his underpants were inside out. And this guy's like in his 70s.
Whoa.
You not heard that one? No,
With that?
you've not heard that account.
No.
No.
That's on a different. I've heard that on a different channel, and I'll probably tell you about that off screen.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. We'll hang around for a few minutes after we're done recording and we can talk for a second. That's why. That's just wild. Wow.
And that's in my area.
That's in your area.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
in my area.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're in a pretty
Active.
Go ahead.
It sounds like he has a pretty active area.
Absolutely.
And Simon, what Jay was trying to get at is something. I did a research project that lasted for 6 months, and I researched and I actually spoke to people on camera, on the phone, on the internet, just going back and forth on Facebook Messenger or emails. And these people had a sighting or an encounter with a dog man or a Sasquatch, and what they saw before, after, or before and after was a white orb in the sky, or blue or yellow orb in the sky. But they saw something like that, before they saw the Sasquatch or dog man, after, or both, before and after. And it came out, the percentage of the people that saw Sasquatch and dog man, or had an encounter of some sort, it turned out 94% of them said that they actually saw that orb in the sky. So it's another piece to the puzzle fitting in there. And, we can only surmise that maybe the Sasquatch or dog man were coming interdimensional. They were coming down from a spacecraft and going back up into one. Maybe they were the aliens, or maybe the aliens put them here. I mean, there's not a lot of answers to that, but there's some things you can surmise from something like that, because they had an encounter with a cryptid, and then also maybe possibly an alien encounter.
Nick, before I started going out field researching, I'd done years and years of reading, and there was one particular account which sticks with me. That a chap was hiking through somewhere in North America, and there was a cave, and at the entrance of the cave was this humming, this buzzing noise, and there was a Sasquatch stood at the entrance to the cave, and the Sasquatch done the mind speak to him and said, "You do not want to go in there. You don't want to see what's happening."
Oh my God!
That was an account I read maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I wouldn't even know where to get the link or find it. Did I tell you about the spade?
No.
The spade?
I don't think so.
Let me tell you about the spade. This woods, again, this same particular woods, in lockdown, we had mountain bikers come through, and I would go there and I would do my meditating with the dog, and I would find my peace and quiet just for my own mental health, because lockdown was quite hard,
Yeah.
So I'd go there, and then the mountain bikers started. Yes, they needed somewhere to exercise or whatever, but they were destroying the woods, and I'd had experiences in there, and I felt almost like protective of the woods in a way that I didn't want all this nuisance and nonsense going on. Anyway, they were making ramps, and I was always polite as I went past. One particular day, they'd left a few of their tools out, not tidied up. So I that's a bit naughty. I sort of sabotaged the route a little bit, and I found one of their spades, and I took it, and I ran quite high up onto the other side of the embankment, and I hid this spade in about 3 or 4 foot length of grass, and they would have never found it. Okay.
Yeah.
About 18 months later, I find this spade in a different woods, high up on another trail where I was following some leads. About a mile, and it had to cross a road, a small
Wow.
country road, yeah, and it's about a mile away. This spade, and I was like, I've seen this spade because I remember moving it myself.
Yep. They're
So
notorious for doing stuff like that.
that's
Notorious
the
for
spade
it.
story.
Wow.
Do you think they can make fire? Do you think they use fire?
It's something I've always felt. I don't think they need to. But I pondered that for years. At this point, I don't think so.
Yeah, I
It
Not
could,
sure.
agree with
Yeah,
you on
yeah.
that. Yeah.
you know, it might depend on. Here's a couple things to think about. Both of you, when I mention this, is that, you know, when it comes down to behavior of these things, aggressiveness, how chilled out they are. I think a lot of it has to do with the type of Sasquatch it is, the way the alpha male sets the tone of the group. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
again, location. What kind of Sasquatch type being are we dealing with? You know, so who
Yeah.
knows? I mean, I'm not an expert by any means. I don't think there are any experts in this field. You know, and so that's just a guess. I don't think here in the U.S. I can say I don't think they make fire. They
Okay.
very well could where you're at.
It's fine. I'm
You
finding
know?
a lot of drying racks. So
Okay.
um, elevated racks off the ground.
Yep.
I found a triangle, like you know, like you know, like a washing line, but it was all
Yeah.
wood stacked,
Right.
and it
Okay.
was, and there was a hole in the woods where the sun would come through, and the sun
Yep.
was drying this wood. And have you
Oh
heard of
wow.
pessimon? Pessimon. It's an old medieval food where you dried berries, your animal fats, and you would make that food for the winter.
Okay.
Peciman. Pessimon. Okay. Have a look at medieval food,
Okay.
and that might be something which links in with another piece of the jigsaw somewhere. I'm not sure
Sure.
if they make
Sure.
fire to make food for the winter.
Sure. Oh man,
Hmm.
that was unfortunately we're out of time. We're running out. But Simon, I just want to tell you, speaking of the jigsaw puzzle, you threw in some good pieces tonight, brother.
Yeah. Some
Thank you
stuff
very
I
much for
haven't
having
heard
me.
of. I mean, stuff to think about. I mean, Sasquatch,
Absolutely.
Bigfoot making a fire. That would be amazing.
Yep. You threw in some
Well,
good pieces, man.
next time we speak, I'll tell you about a
Yeah.
fishing net.
Okay. Well, we listen. We're more than willing to. We're if you're willing to do it, we'd love to have you back on sometime.
Thanks, Jay.
Oh yeah.
And it's been lovely to talk to you as well, Nick.
Yeah, man.
Thank
We'd
you,
love to
sir.
have you back on. We'll work out a time for the future, and you know we'll
Okay.
have you back on. We'll do this again, man. It was an honor having you on, Simon.
Really,
It was an
thank you,
honor.
Thank you very
Simon.
much. Yeah.
It's
Oh,
been an
great.
absolute honor. But
Okay.
be good and stick around for a minute after I stop recording.
Okay.
But everyone, hope you enjoyed the show. This is a great guest, great show tonight. If you
Great
need to
show.
reach, awesome. If you
A
need to
lot of
reach Nick and
lot, a
I,
lot of new stuff brought out.
lot
Okay.
of lots of stuff. If
Good
you need to
night,
get a hold of us, Facebook Messenger. Check out our YouTube channel, Paranormal Encrypted Crossroads Research. Everyone, have a great evening, and everyone, God bless.
Good night.
Good night.